breaking down all the biggest games in our area. This is Sports Talk with Kendrick and Dusty on Wave Now. Delivered by Bear Nose Pizza. Yeah, it's that good.
Well, if you didn't notice, Dusty messed up the open.
Oh, no. If you look at your screen right now, one person's correct. The other one is Kendrick Haskins.
You messed up the open. Are you going to deny that you messed up?
I am definitely going to deny that, actually. He's denied it 3 times.
You're starting out 2024 with lies.
It's
anyway,
very, very odd.
Welcome to Kendrick and Dusty Talk Sports for the first time in the new year. And Dusty, we had a win last night for the U of L men's basketball team. They went on the road, knocked off Miami, a Final Four participant last year. They kind of had struggles this year. I watched them get blown out in Rupp Arena earlier this year. But nonetheless, a huge win for the Cards. Brandon Huntley-Hatfield was a problem down low. Miami's very small up front, but they took advantage of it. And Mike James returning home to his home state and showing out, scoring 26 points, scored 16 of U of L's first 20 points in the game. Great win for the Cards, and even better, a great win for Kenny Payne.
It's funny because Ken Palm, earlier in the day, there was a tweet that was going around saying Louisville was projected to lose every single game.
Which I thought was stupid.
I thought that was very dumb when I saw that myself. But I think it's just ironic timing, too, that, right when that gets released, they get their win. And, if you look at their record, Kendrick and I were sitting in the office, and yes, nobody wants to start the year 6-9, but for the way that things have been going for this team, 6-9 is not half bad for how it's felt. I mean, it's felt like they're
It's felt like the sky is falling, especially if you look at social media. And, I made the comment last night on the air, which apparently rubbed some people the wrong way at my cousin's workplace. I said there's still going to be fans mad because they won. Well, I was right. All you have to do is look at social media. When the day after a win, you see people posting future coaching candidates. So that's where we are right now. But nonetheless, there was a big win for U of L, and this is Kenny Payne's first road win as the U of L head coach. U of L's first road win since January 2nd of 2022. That game was at Georgia Tech. Sky Clark was big down the stretch, and this game was, and be honest with you, the game was kind of funny to watch because both teams played the exact same game, which meant they kept turning the ball over, and neither one of them would guard the three-point line, but the Cards pulled it out.
It's amazing, too, to me that, you had highs and lows for the Cards yesterday to the point where at times it felt like U of L was out of the game. Then all of a sudden they'd come back and looked like they were in control. And then you look away for 2 seconds. All of a sudden Miami ties it up. It was very much a roller coaster ride. It's the best way to put that. And the fact that the Cards were able to win this, though, would you argue? I mean, at this point in time, this has got to be the biggest win for their program.
It's the biggest win. It's the biggest win of the Kenny Payne era. Yeah. It's crazy to say that.
It's insane.
A road game in January, but it was. And looking forward down the road at Louisville's schedule, I know, like Ken Palm said, they weren't going to win another game, but they've got the ACC is not the ACC of the 80s,
right?
And so, I mean, Duke and Carolina are obviously the cream of the crop. And then Virginia, even though Virginia has shown they're vulnerable away from home.
Clemson's solid.
And Clemson, I think they lost last night.
Yeah.
Outside of those four, I mean, I guess you could throw NC State in there too. Outside of those five, the rest of the teams in the ACC are not that much different from each other.
No.
I mean, Notre Dame, Florida State. I know someone was talking about Wake Forest as a Sweet 16 team. I was like, I don't know where you're talking about. And then, I mean, they could be a tournament team. And then Georgia Tech and Boston College and Syracuse. None of those teams really scare you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Louisville can't beat Pittsburgh for some reason. But but the rest of those games, I'm not saying that Louisville's going to compete for an ACC title in no way, shape, form, or fashion. But I'm saying they can get some wins within the conference. It's not going to be that big of a shock if U of L wins 4 or 5 more games down the road.
Last year, they go and win 4 games. 2 of those were conference wins. The crazy thing to me is this was not only a win in conference play, but it's a road win, something that they hadn't been able to do since January the 2nd of 2022. So the fact that, the fact that they've been able to do that, starting out the new year right with this guy, I swear. The fact that they were able to secure that road win, though, and ultimately it's turning a page in a lot of ways. This might be a capability for them at least to clear their heads a little bit. Brandon Huntley-Hatfield in particular, over the course of the last month and a half, 2 months, he's been very emotional in post-game press conferences. He's said time and time again, just wait and watch this team. And, obviously the pessimistic fan would sit there and say, what are we waiting for? What are we actually going to be watching? But, after watching what we saw yesterday, maybe he does know something we don't. And maybe they do know, hey, there's talent here. It's just, we haven't really been able to put it together. And we see that in really any sport, right? You've seen talented teams across the board that go out there and at the end of the day, they can't put things together. And Louisville just hasn't been able to put together a quality game really since the IU or the Texas games in New York.
And honestly, it's part of, Rick Pitino coined the term. He used to say it all the time, the microwave society. Everybody wants things instant, everybody wants everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look in the past, when there's a coaching change, it takes time to build it. Yeah. Yes, Tang did it really fast at Kansas State. That is an outlier, especially considering where the U of L program was when Kenny Payne took it over. And I know people say, you just been defending Kenny Payne. No, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit here and say that Louisville's not shown improvement, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
They have, even when they were losing, there's games when they played bad and they've done dumb stuff. It still blows my mind that they don't know who to guard when the ball didn't go in the basket. But there is still improvement there. You're not looking at them and saying they're not fighting. They've quit. They've not quit. And they've only been blown out like a handful of times. Every other game they've been basically in it. They got blown out by Kentucky, but that was one of those things where Kentucky went on that big run and it was just kind of back and forth the whole game.
That's also potentially top 3 team in the country.
Yeah, Kentucky's a potential Final Four team.
Yeah.
Then the things that does drive you crazy is that you do see some of the same mistakes game in and game out. It's like when I was talking about with them not knowing who to guard if they don't make the basket and leaving guys wide open all the time. But there is improvement. They do look better. They do look like they're playing better, and they are playing for. And if you ask any of those guys, they all tell you, we love KP. We're playing for KP.
I think just to go off that point too, you mentioned Mike James and the way that he played. If you watch the post-game presser as well, it was obviously Kenny and James. And what I thought was really cool and something we really haven't seen much of this year because there hasn't been really a lot of positive to talk about. Well, Kenny, essentially talked right there with James there about how he loves having him as a player. And he's talked about James over the course.
Yeah, he's always said that.
He's always said that he loves James, but to have them right there and watching it, seeing the visual of the two of them and the mutual respect that they have, it's very clear that Kenny Payne does have control of that locker room, despite the fact that, people out there want to claim otherwise. And there's a respect factor between the two. And I'd imagine James is obviously a key leader on this team that he gets the respect as well. So that in turn is all the way across the board for their locker room. So.
A big shout out. We actually got people corresponding with us. Of course, Alan always says hi. Hello,
Alan. Good to see you again.
Is that Corey Denzik?
That is Corey.
You say, with this win, does that buy KP more time in the pocket? No.
Probably not.
It's still a win, but he still got work to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt matters. He still has work to do, and still, U of L. I've been trying to pound this into people's head. U of L's financials.
Yeah.
It is not advantageous for them to move on during the season right now. Which I don't think they were ever going to do anyway.
Yeah.
But they are still paying Tom Jurich. They're still paying Chris Mack. They're still paying Bobby Petrino. And do you want to have? You're paying two if you get rid of Kenny, you're paying 2 coaches to not coach, and you still have to pay for another coach to coach. So the buyout, I think you play it out at least to the end of the season. At the end of the season, if there's no improvement, do what you have to do. But for right now, he's not going anywhere, and at least until the end of the season.
I think you also need to know who that home run hire is. If you're going to be able to go out and, as you mentioned, because of the financial situation, if you're really going to front the money, and I do believe Louisville can probably find some way to pay that off, whether that be 502 Circle or you name it. There's a way for them to get the funds. But if you're going to make that move, you better have a home run hire there and ready to go. And
exactly.
The reality right now is, A, he just won an ACC game. Okay. 2, yeah, they're probably not going to be finding themselves making a run by any means here.
Right.
But if they're not, then why do we need a replacement midseason, right? So you're talking about the earliest being the very end of the season. I just wonder if this team somehow does go on a later run, does that, speed up his process, or is he still out after the end of the year, or is he possibly going to buy himself a little more time if this team turns it around? That is a big question. I don't see that, though. Kind of like you said, I think that it's the end of the year, but the home run hire's got to be a key there. And also just keep the financial situation in mind. If there's not an immediate move, those two things have to be worked out before anything concrete takes place.
And we got people ask questions. I'm glad you're asking this question.
Glenn Rainey, he said, what is the best storyline so far this season for Louisville?
As well as the ongoing. If we want to be on the positive note, actually, I was going to. It's twofold between Mike James and Brendan Huntley Hatfield. Yeah. Mike James has been on fire the last two games. He caught fire in the game against Pittsburgh. They just came up short. Brendan Huntley Hatfield, he didn't have a good game against Pittsburgh, but he's been playing really well. I think out of 3 of the last 4 of the last 5, Brendan Huntley Hatfield's been playing really well. He's got a couple double-doubles in there. And I think he can be the key to their season because he gives them that inside presence. And he can step out. He can shoot the 3. He's a very skilled player. He was a 5-star player coming out of high school. And so I think he's going to be the key to their season, turning it around if they do make a run.
I think Mike James, just the impact that he's had, and you saw it in that win, it's gone beyond that. We've seen his impact as a leader on and off the court, but it just really hasn't clicked until it finally did yesterday. And you see that when Mike James gets hot, I mean, it's impossible to stop him. And this Louisville team all of a sudden looks kind of sharp,
They look formidable, yes.
They look like a team that can actually compete in ACC play, which is something that I don't think we would even say, especially at the start of the year. There was a lot of concern about that. And yes, this year has had a lot of issues. You could turn to J.J. Traynor, you turn to Dennis Evans, the Coron Davis situation. Right. I mean, there's been a lot of issues, but the fact that they were able to pull that kind of win out after all that's taken place here, and you have a guy like Brendan Huntley Hatfield doing what he's doing. I mean, that's a big statement if you ask me. It really is.
Especially, because they're down to 7 scholarship players. I mean, even right before the season when Flowers pulls out and goes to Australia. I mean, you had Flowers, you had Davis, you had Evans and JJ,
and you had the tight pants. You had the tights,
and tight gate.
Yeah.
So I mean, in any other circumstance, and I know a lot of it is people are still seething from the 4-win season last year. But if you really just put everything on and just really look at it, that the fact that this team was 7 scholarship players just went on the road and won at a place that they hadn't won at since I think it was like 2019, and B, they beat a team that was just in the Final Four last year. And granted, they don't have Wong, but they still got most of that roster back.
Right.
And they won that game. It's impressive. It's like it has to be positive the day after.
It's pretty remarkable what U of L has been able to accomplish, considering everything that's gone against them. Obviously, we've been talking about Kenny Payne watch. He's definitely bought himself time for this year. There's no doubt about that. And speaking of coaching, actually a really good point that we have in the comments here from Alan McNear. He said, wild on all the coaching news and changes. I think that transitions us pretty well. We're talking college football. We're talking the NFL. Holy cow. Tons of bombs going on here over the last 48 hours between Pete Carroll from the Seahawks, Bill Belichick today with the New England Patriots, and of course, you could argue any of these are the biggest news. I would say the Nick Saban bomb, though, really blew my brains out. The fact that he's retiring and it was really quiet leading up to it. I mean, you knew at some point this guy was going to happen.
They said he was interviewing people an hour before he said, all right, I'm out.
It's crazy. It's absolute craziness. And now you have the coaching carousel and, the fact that you could see Lane Kiffin taking over an Alabama program or the LA Chargers. That just tells you how crazy it is. Hello to our news anchors that are walking by us right now. The fact that Lane Kiffin or Kalen DeBoer, Dabo Sweeney, we're hearing all sorts of names. I mean, we've even heard Dion, let's be honest. Right. It's all over the place.
We've heard Dabo for years, but I don't know. I think Lane Kiffin would be the perfect fit because, for one, Lane Kiffin is hilarious. And it would be going the opposite direction of Saban because they weren't exactly the best of friends. I don't think they share Christmas cards.
No, not at all.
But Lane Kiffin, he's young. He's going to be there for a while. Well, maybe, unless he goes to the NFL. But Lane Kiffin does strike me as somebody who will be there for a while. He's had his ups and downs, his bumps and bruises. He's plenty of experience in the coaching world. younger players like him because of his personality. They were number one in the transfer portal at one point. I know Louisville passed them, and then now Louisville's number two. I forget who's number one now.
Colorado is number one right now. Yeah, Colorado.
But I do think Lane Kiffin would be the best fit for them. But I mean, Alabama can pretty much go out and get whoever they want. I'd hate to be the guy replacing Nick Saban, though.
I think Dabo would have been a great hire 4 years ago. You know, you're talking about that was the peak of his value. I still kind of like the idea of him going there just because the alma mater, but you made a pretty good point that he's got to catch up to the times.
Yeah, and he's fighting against the times, and that's not what you need right now.
Especially at Bama, where you're not only recruiting top tier talent, but you do still need to get top tier transfers as well. And so you need somebody that's on board with that as well as good at recruiting. Exactly. I do think Kalen DeBoer would be a solid fit. Yes. I actually think Sark would be interesting.
I think Sarkisian would be interesting too.
Sark would be very interesting.
I think Texas can match them for fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think Sark is it's more of a lateral move, especially considering both teams made the college football playoff. His own team beat that Alabama team, right? And so, it's a matter of how comfortable he is in Texas and in Austin. And based off what we see, it seems like it. And when you have Arch Manning just sitting, waiting in the wings.
Just waiting. Because what's his name?
Quinn Ewers.
Announced that he's coming back next year.
Yeah.
So Arch Manning is sitting another year.
Yeah.
Did he redshirt? No, he didn't redshirt. I guess he still could redshirt.
I think
he didn't play in 3 games.
Yeah.
So
he got some action.
Rules are kind of weird.
They are very bizarre, and especially now with the constant circle that we go in the transfer portal. In fact, something I read, and I need to confirm this to be true, but I believe with Nick Saban announcing his retirement, I think that adds more time for those kids now to enter the transfer portal. I want to say it's another 30 days. So you may see some more Alabama players.
Had a 5-star.
They've had a few. Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting. College football is going to change significantly because of one huge name off the board, because you could see a jump where a key coach goes to Bama, that role needs to be filled by another key coach. And then it's just this domino effect. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens there. We've obviously seen a lot of coaching changes happening before this. A notable one is just up north with Cignetti in IU. But then the NFL, you are going to see a circus right now. I mean, it's crazy what we're seeing because of Carroll and Belichick and obviously Brandon Staley leaving the Chargers, the greatest thing that could have ever happened to that organization. I'm interested to see
the long-suffering Chargers.
The long-suffering Charger fan. I am one of 10 that exist, I'm pretty sure. That list is probably dropped off to 9 or 8. We have a comment here from Glenn Rainey. Whoever Alabama hires, it will be a rebound hire. That's probably a pretty fair argument because I don't know how you catch up.
You never want to be the man that replaces the man. I'd hate to be the guy replacing Nick Saban. Yeah. I'd hate to be the guy replacing John Calipari.
Yeah. I'd hate to be the guy replacing Bill Belichick.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. And the funny thing, at least with Alabama, they have history.
Yeah.
Kentucky has history.
Yeah.
New England's history is Belichick.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm older. Other than their Super Bowl in '85, New England was never they were an afterthought. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember that. And so he is their history. Yeah. And so that's going to be extremely difficult. And you have to do it in Boston.
Yeah. The most, I would say, without even my fandom getting in the way, I do think the Chargers job is probably, you could argue the most valuable in the sense that it's in the top 2 market. And it's got the most talent.
I mean, that roster, it made no sense for your team to be as bad as they were. Sense. They've got a loaded roster. Yeah, someone can walk right in there and immediately start winning. I think Belichick would be a great fit
that would be
there.
Awesome.
I mean, he's 71 years old.
Yeah.
Move out to the West Coast, and you've got a ready-made roster. I mean, only real question is what you do with Eckler. Outside of that, I think it's a perfect fit for Belichick. He's got his quarterback there. Yeah. He's got the defense already set up. I think it's that would be the perfect marriage, right?
5th pick in the draft, and you can go out and get Brock Bowers. You can go out and probably get Roma Dunze. You can get Malik Neighbors.
Yeah,
and then you
have options.
Yeah, 3rd round, 2nd round, you get Blake Corum as well. I mean, the options are there, and it's just a matter of what do they actually do to transform this thing? So, the coaching circle, the circus, whatever you want to call it, the carousel, it's crazy right now. I mean, it doesn't get crazier than this.
It is. I mean, free agency in college sports, I know everybody hates it, but, I mean, it is exciting.
It is exciting in Louisville.
We're talking about it. I mean, right here in town, Louisville. Yeah. Jeff Brom has been killing it on the transfer portal front. it is making recruiting is like totally different now than it was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, because who I was listening to, they were saying it's better to go out and get an experienced player than go get a highly regarded high school kid, because if he comes in and doesn't play immediately, he's going to leave anyway. So you may as well go ahead and just bring somebody else in.
Right.
And so I think who hurts the most from this are the lower tier ranked high school kids, because they're most likely not going to go to the major programs out of high school. But what they'll do now, the non-Power 5 schools are basically like AAA.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are.
They go there for a year or two, then they go to Alabama, Louisville, wherever.
Yeah, I think Boise State is an interesting one to throw out there, because look at what just happened with USC. They get their quarterback Malachi Nelson, who transfers. Right, he's a 5-star recruit. Right. He was the top quarterback, I believe, of the class last year, and he's going to Boise State. And the reason why is because he was getting blocked at USC. He probably got a heck of an NIL deal. Last I checked on 3 Sports, it was $1.1 million. And he's going to a city that has decent football, and they've had a history with Kellen Moore. And obviously the 2010, 2011 Boise team was incredible. So now
they've got great food.
They've got really, really great food.
Never been to Boise.
Oh, man, it is incredible. I have family in Idaho, and I tell you what, like the wineries out there are great. And the food,
Boise is
it's
I was
special.
blown away by Boise when I went out.
You were. You told me that, right? When I told you, it is a great spot, and you see schools like that maybe they're not Power 5, but they're close enough to that. And probably Boise is good enough to be in a Power 5, I feel like, at this point. But
hang on, they may be.
They may. At this point, there's a chance. There's a real shot. But the fact that, you get schools like that are benefiting from the transfer portal, that is actually pretty cool to watch. Instead of the top just feeding like a lot of people assumed it would. It's gotten a little bit balanced in that sense.
Yeah, it's leveled the playing field. We have parity now.
There's some parity.
And I mean, that's what's crazy is, like, everybody was wringing their hands about Florida State and Georgia, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But the thing is like the whole time that we've had this top 4, this is the first time there's actually been a question about the top 4.
Yeah, that's 2014. That's the last time. First year and the last year. That's the first time, really.
It's like first time. So that parity is setting in.
Yeah.
And parity is a good thing, especially with college sports.
It is.
I mean, look at women's college basketball. I mean, for years, it's UConn, Tennessee, Tennessee. Now, I mean, South Carolina, Iowa.
They just run the show.
Yeah, their talent is more evenly dispersed now.
Glenn said, I feel like the college football will go to leagues, the National College League and the American College League. I kind of love that, actually. I wish that we had that instead of conferences. It's just money. Money is the key.
Yeah, UCLA's coach, he had the best idea. Chip Kelly was like, we just break off in regions. Everything is regional. Yeah. And go from there.
I would love that
just for football. Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't make sense for the Rutgers volleyball team to fly all the way out to Washington to play Washington,
and that's going to
volleyball.
happen.
And that's going to happen.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's like you think about Louisville and Stanford. Yeah. Well, that's going to be great women's basketball. Good.
And women's volleyball is going to be incredible.
It's going to be incredible. Yeah. But still, you've got teams going all the way across the country for conference games. It's crazy.
It's nuts, man. All I'll say about that is when I was, I think, a sophomore in high school, I got really annoyed by the system before it was even a thing. So we're talking like this is like 15, 16 years ago. And I was a youth. I was youthful. I knew you were going to say that. That's the first thing. But I was sitting there in my room and I decided to just reconstruct it. And I came up with a system where there were 100 and I made a spreadsheet before it was a thing. I'm a master spreadsheet connoisseur. I made a sheet of 136 schools.
Why did you do
this? I had no friends.
This is apparent.
It was actually something I loved to do. But so I constructed it and I found a way to match it up where there were 8 subdivisions and each school would play each other a certain amount of times and whatnot. And now it's like that's what's being floated out there. It's like we had the answer all along. It was in my hands. That's all I'm saying. I had the answers.
Don't strain your shoulder patting yourself on the back. And I've got a feeling that you're not going to be credited with that.
I should be. Moving on, though, here in Louisville.
Back locally, where the teams do play somewhat close to home, even though some would argue that Valley's not very close to anything.
Fair.
The LIT We had some great action last night. Manual, the number 1 seed in the LIT this year, they got a big win over Christian Academy. Kind of ran away from Christian Academy in that game. Christian Academy's got some talent, but Manual's Manual's very strong. And you talked to Manual's coach last week, and they're playing really well right now.
They look sharp. That's a team that hits the 3 better than I think I've seen any other high school team in the area so far. They've got a number.
Shane kid is
he's legit.
He's also the beer for the volleyball team's cousin.
That's so crazy, and you see the talent carries around the family because that kid's got a good 3-ball. I mean, quite literally, when I went to practice for Manual, every one of them was like a sharpshooter. It was pretty impressive. And then you go see Butler, and Butler plays this fast, in the paint kind of speed game more so than
Butler's
they do on the outside.
Good this year. They're gonna have something to say in the 6th region this year. Butler's very good. Our semifinals on Friday, the 6:00 game is Butler versus Manual.
Yeah.
And the 7:30 game, 7:30-ish, is probably gonna sell out the Valley Gym as St. X Trinity meet in the semifinals of the LIT.
Yeah, that'll be a great one. And just to be able to have this tournament out here, this is the first year that I've had the chance to cover it, and you see the talent, and it's cool that it's all in one location, giving you the opportunity to kind of see where you stack up, because having that measuring stick at this time of the year is super crucial, and it gives your team a belief, or it gives your team an understanding of where they stack up and what they need to do to work to get to a point that they obviously want to get to at the end.
It's a great springboard heading into district and regional play. Get you ready for regional tournament time later on down the road. It is a prestigious tournament, the LIT, and the teams and players and coaches put a lot into that. They legitimately want to win that thing. I say it gets them ready for the Sweet 16 and everything that's coming down the road. So the LIT is a fantastic tournament.
It's not quite bowling, though.
No,
it's not bowling.
It's not because they don't get paid.
They don't get paid. So
bowling, you can get paid.
Bowling, you can get paid big time this weekend, especially.
Even though this guy got paid from another sport.
He did. He happened to get paid quite a bit. If you're very confused about what we're saying right now, this is our, I think we teased it in our little intro. It's kind of a cool announcement we have here at Wave. We have none other than bowling legend. Who do you think that is there, Kendrick? Who does that look like?
I know who it is.
Who is it?
Why are you asking me?
I'm asking you because I want to know.
It's
Who is
Mookie Betts.
That's Mookie Betts.
Boston Red Sox legend, Mookie Betts.
I think we're talking about the Dodgers starting second baseman. Some people will try to correct me probably on that. He is the Los Angeles Dodgers starting second baseman this year, not outfielder. He's making the move. They're moving into the infield.
That's an odd move from somebody later in their career. Usually you see that earlier.
I think they're trying to preserve his back. I think that's a big part of it. But he and I, we're not talking about that. And what I mean by that is he's actually coming to Wave later tonight. And we're going to talk about his bowling tournament that he's hosting with another MLB player. That would be Michael Harris, who is an outfielder for the Atlanta Braves. The two will be out here as part of the TNBA, which is the National Bowling Association. And so it's going to be something called Friends for Fun. It's at the address, I believe, is 911 Phillips Lane.
If you're from Louisville, you know where it is.
Yeah.
Executive Bowl.
Executive Bowl. Yeah, I'm learning the region, but
I've told you this.
Yes, you have.
Multiple
Yes,
times.
You have. It's the Executive Bowl.
Listen.
I listen.
I'm trying to mold you.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Mookie Betts.
But we have Mookie Betts
coming here. Yeah.
And it's to me, the comedy of it is Mookie Betts being interviewed by Dusty Baker.
It is. I think that's the best thing. We're also having his mom on the show as well, which is going to be pretty cool. And we're going to talk. She's actually the one that manages.
She runs the show.
Yeah, she does.
She runs the show. She has her hands in this bowling tournament. Quiet as kept. Mookie's been sneaking in town and playing in these bowling tournaments for years. I heard about it years ago. We just never could make it work. We got it to work. Shout out to LA that works for us.
Yes.
And it's an extremely exciting moment for my coworker and my protege.
Oh, my goodness.
Guy I'm trying to mold into a great young man.
That word mold.
Baker.
That word mold needs to die.
He is a lifelong Dodgers fan. He is literally named after Dusty Baker from his dad's love affair with watching the Dodgers when he was a kid, and gets to give Dusty, the real Dusty Baker, candy in the outfit.
The other one.
He's not the other one. He's the one.
He's the other one.
but anyway, so I'm thrilled to death just to have for Dusty to have this opportunity to be able to talk to somebody that he is a legit fan of.
Yeah, it's really cool because Mookie, for those that maybe watch baseball or maybe you don't, I feel like most people have to know who this guy is because he transcends the game. He obviously plays on a team where Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He's made it very well known that he's a proud baseball player, a proud black man that plays the game and follows suit with what Jackie Robinson did. And that was something that attracted him to the Dodgers organization. And, it's wild. He's actually going to be playing a position that Jackie played as well, which is really awesome. And
skill set similar.
Skill set very similar, fast. And I think
not as big.
Not as big. He's 5'9", which is crazy, but he's got amazing power. Hit 39 bombs last year. But the thing that we're going to be talking to him about is his passion for bowling. And he's an incredible bowler. He
probably could be a professional bowler if he wanted to.
He really could. He's an incredible athlete across the board. And so one thing that he's really trying to do is bring a passion, a light, if you will, to the bowling community. And so obviously with this tournament out here in Louisville, this will present the opportunity for those that are youth through adult. He's made it very clear that he doesn't care what age you are. If you're interested in bowling or have always thought about doing it, that now's your time. And there's time right now to sign up. And we'll provide the website to sign up on our own website as well. We'll talk a little bit with Mookie and his mom just simply about what that connection to bowling and baseball has looked like. A fun story about his mom. She actually is the reason why he got into Little League Baseball. A bunch of coaches were telling him they didn't want him because he was too small. Mm-hmm. She started her own team in his Little League. Like she quite literally started her own team. Mm-hmm. Of course, she became his first coach.
Right.
And now,
how are you too small for baseball?
I don't understand. Ask Dustin Pedroia, World Series champ, and he was not big, dude. And Jose Altuve. I mean, come on,
he's about as tall as this table.
Yeah. And they
like you don't need height.
No,
in baseball.
No, you really don't. Unless you're Aaron Judge, who just hits absolute bombs.
Or Ellie De La Cruz is a big guy, but I mean, but I don't see how. Anyway,
Mookie's athletic. Mookie's very athletic. And so we're super excited. We're going to welcome him here later tonight. And obviously you will have the chance here in the Louisville community. If you are available on Friday or Saturday, he'll be out here. And the tournament, it's a bowling tournament, and it will be obviously at the, go ahead.
Executive Bowl.
The Executive Bowl. There it is.
That's so hard.
It's the Executive Bowl.
It's by the fairgrounds.
It's by the fairgrounds. And that'll be on Friday and Saturday and concluding on Sunday.
He's super excited. He's so excited in case the Executive Bowl.
Executive Bowl. That's
at least we got him to talk about the Dodgers and not talk about Shohei Ohtani.
That's a miracle. I will probably have to float something. Do you think it would be cool if he and Shohei Ohtani bowled? I think that would be pretty cool. I would love to watch that. Yes, you know that too. You think it would be cool. You would be in attendance, and I know that for a fact.
I'm not going tomorrow.
You should. Michael Harris
has to work.
Michael Harris will be there too.
One of us has to work, Dusty.
Both of us have to.
One of us has to keep the lights on.
Oh my gosh. Well, with that being said, keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled tonight at 11.
Look for that tonight at 11. Yeah. We're both super excited to have Mookie Betts come in here, and it'll be great. You'll love what you see.
Yeah, excited to talk to him, and I won't talk too much about the Dodgers, I promise.
I doubt that. I'll take the under on that.
Any last questions that we have here from the people watching us? Thank you for sticking with us. We haven't had a chance to do this in a while. Right. Thank you to Alan. Thank you to Corey. Thank you to Glenn for your comments. Of course, and Eric as well. Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys reaching out. Obviously, a big part of the reason why we do this is to have the opportunity to answer your questions, interact with you at home as well. So anytime we do these, which we have probably the opportunity to do this more regularly down the stretch. And of course, thanks to Beer Nose as well for giving us the opportunity.
A lot of our teams quit playing on Thursdays.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That's huge.
But listen, we have a busy weekend coming up. Of course, the LIT semifinals on Friday, LIT finals on Saturday. Louisville's at home hosting NC State on Saturday. Former Rick Pitino assistant Kevin Keats and his NC State Wolfpack, they looked really good. Kevin Keats was always a good guy when he was around here. Kentucky, they are on the road on Saturday. IU, I believe, is on the road this weekend also. So it's a very busy time, a whole lot of basketball action, and it's good to sneak some bowling in there, too.
Sneak some bowling.
Playoff action. Please do not call us because the NBC game the second game is on Peacock. We have nothing to do with
playoffs. You're talking about playoffs?
That is a decision that's made way above Wave, and I'm sure people are still going to call it complain, but
it's true.
We have no control over what goes to Peacock and what games are on NBC. So there's that.
We also have a live game game as we speak, and that is
U of L women are in
U of L
action
women.
as we speak.
And we're checking the score right now.
It'd be easier if you just went to ESPN.
ESPN is my phone kind of hates me too. That's half the battle.
See, this is what I mean when I'm molding this young
He's
man.
not molding me into anything. As we check this score, though, any last comments that you have for us, we would obviously love to.
If you like to watch us, sit here and look at our phones. U of L's up 32-25.
Yeah, there you go. At the half. At the half.
Went to the ESPN app.
You know what? Jeff Walls had mentioned that this was going to be a tougher matchup than it looked like on paper. 6-10, Pittsburgh, 0-3 in conference play, but Pittsburgh's hanging in there right there. It looks like Louisville actually, they had a hot stretch. They started out with a 20-11 run in the first quarter, but Pittsburgh outscoring them in the second quarter 14-12, and as Kendrick mentioned, it's at halftime right now.
Yeah, I think the Cards will pull that one out. They're playing really well. They don't have that star player like they usually do, like an Angel McCautry or Shoni Shimo or Dana Evans or Asia Durr. But they have a good collection of talent, and they all play off each other. They're really good. And then they've only lost 3 games.
Yeah,
and
two games,
and they're almost selling out the KFC Yum Center every game, and they're fun to watch. And they're going to be right there in March like they always are.
Highlights tonight at 11. We'll have the Mookie content. We'll have the U of L women content. That's all coming at 11.
And for the next 4 hours, I will make fun of him until Mookie gets here.
Not even possible. Not even possible.
Give me endless content. Anyway, till next time we do this, hopefully we can do this next Thursday. We haven't looked at the schedule that far ahead, but hopefully we can. The next time we can, though, we'll be right there with us. So thanks again for joining us for Kendrick and Dusty Talk Sports. We'll see you next time.
Have a great evening. Catch us at 11.
Breaking down all the biggest games in our area. This is Sports Talk with Kendrick and Dusty on Wave Now. Delivered by Bearno's Pizza. Yeah, it's that good.